While browsing the shops, I was drawn to a delicate $500 necklace. Its shimmer caught my eye, and for a moment I wondered if maybe, just maybe, I deserved to treat myself. That's when a small hand yanked at my sleeve. "Mom, that's way too expensive. You're not worth it." Aaron, my son, frowned up at me, his voice laced with open disapproval and disdain. The saleswoman raised an eyebrow, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of her mouth. I glanced around. Other shoppers were laughing, enjoying themselves, arms full of beautiful things. Me. I stood there, humiliated by the very child I had spent 7 years raising with every ounce of strength I had. My fingers slowly slipped from the necklace. I looked at him calmly, my voice as cold and steady as a midwinter wind. "You're right. I'm not worth it." But this time I wasn't agreeing with him. I was making a decision. The moment we walked through the front door, Aaron ran straight to Bert, clutching his leg like a loyal sidekick and tattling on me. "She bought herself a $500 necklace, Dad. Can you believe that?" Bert put on his best stern husband act. "Seriously? What would you even wear that to? It's not like we're rolling in money. You really should return it." Then he added with a sigh, "Can't blame the kid for saying something. We're not some high society family. Be reasonable." I stared coldly at the father-son duo so united in their judgment. "Oh, I see. After everything I've done for this family, I don't even deserve to spend $500. Aaron clung tighter to his father and shouted, "You don't. Dad works so hard every day and you don't even have a job. Why should you spend his money?" Bert had been scraping by at his company for years, making just around $4,000 a month. After the mortgage, the car payments, and the bills, there wouldn't be much left if I hadn't managed every cent of our household expenses like a tightrope walker. Before I got pregnant, I was making over $10,000 a month. I was on track for a major promotion. But Bert convinced me that a child needs his mother. That I should stay home for the good of the family. What cut the deepest, though, was Aaron's betrayal. After he was born, I had every intention of going back to work. But just when I was ready, Bert's mother, who had promised to help with child care, suddenly bailed. There was no one left. I couldn't juggle a newborn and a high-pressure job. So I gave it all up. I became a stay-at-home mom. My world shrank to formula and diapers. Conversations that once revolved around business strategy and office gossip turned into nap schedules and feeding charts. My social circle faded until the only people I still spoke to regularly were neighborhood moms. I gave up everything for that child. And yet that same child stood in a jewelry store and told me, "You don't earn money. You don't deserve this." Even on the way home, he kept tugging at my sleeve, urging me to go back and return the necklace. All the hormones I'd carried for years since pregnancy, the ones that once made me feel maternal, protective, loving, dried up in that moment. I saw the saleswoman's eyes widen at the scene and realized I had raised an ungrateful little monster. I was seething, but I couldn't find the words. I slammed my bedroom door shut, as if that wooden barrier could keep the ugliness of my life on the other side. And that's when the thought hit me: divorce. If neither of them loved me anymore, I'd stop wasting love on them. From now on, I'd love myself instead. That night I didn't cook. Bert and Aaron noticed the silence but didn't say a word. In their minds, I was being punished. They ordered pizza for two. Not a slice for me. I didn't care. I spent the entire night thinking, planning. By the time morning came, I'd slept through the alarm and missed the window to get Aaron to school. Aaron, who had also overslept, came storming into my room as he yanked on his clothes. "Mom, why didn't you wake me up? I'm late." What kind of mother does that? Maybe one who doesn't want to be your mother anymore. I swallowed the words, looked him dead in the eye. "I'm not a good mom. Go ask your dad." He exploded, shouting and grabbing the phone to call Bert. Bert had already left for work, but the moment he heard Aaron's voice, he took the morning off and rushed back home to drive him to school. By then I was already dressed and out the door. Step 1 of leaving this marriage: get a job. I didn't have a single dollar in savings after 7 years of being a full-time mom. Filing for divorce now would be reckless. I had been a project manager, respected, well-connected. But as I sent resume after resume, the responses trickled in like a bad joke. Every rejection cited the same thing: 7 years out of the workforce. Outdated. Unqualified. So I lowered the bar. Told myself I'd start from scratch. Still, HR managers politely let me know that I was no longer a fit. The companies with high standards thought I was irrelevant. The ones without standards thought I was too old. Even the neighborhood coffee shop turned me away, saying I wouldn't mesh with their youthful vibe. Under the blazing sun, I wiped the sweat off my brow. I passed a convenience store, paused in front of the freezer aisle, staring at the colorful rows of drinks and ice cream. Maybe I deserve a little treat, I thought. I reached into my bag, started to pull out money, and at the last second grabbed the cheapest bottle of water instead. My phone buzzed again. Bert. No doubt calling to scold me. I stared at the screen, then calmly blocked his number. I'd unblock him when I got home. Maybe. The moment I stepped back into the house, Bert's accusations came at me like a volley of missiles. Even if we're fighting, that doesn't mean you can just neglect Aaron. Because of you, he was late and I had to take time off work and get mocked by my boss. I snapped right back. I've been taking care of Aaron for 7 years. You couldn't manage one day without screwing it up. What kind of father are you? It was exactly what Aaron had once said to me, and now I returned those words to their rightful owner. Bert exploded. You're his mother. If you don't take care of him, who will? Oh please, I shot back. You're his father. Why can't you take responsibility too? That shut him up. Maybe because I'd finally said out loud what he'd been trying to avoid all along, that his so-called fatherhood was just for show. I scoffed and walked back into the bedroom. Bert and Aaron seemed determined to freeze me out. That evening, just like the night before, they ordered pizza and didn't bother calling me to eat. I didn't care. I was glued to my screen, scrolling through job listings. Let them enjoy their precious pizza. I'd already eaten anyway. But day after day, I hit dead end after dead end. Employers either dismissed me outright or tried to trick me into unpaid trial work. My initial confidence, the fire I had when I decided to get a divorce, began to dim. I came home every day exhausted, both physically and emotionally, only to be met with their cold shoulders. One night, as Aaron munched on a bag of chips, he grumbled. School gives us way too much homework. I'll never finish it. Bert looked at him with soft eyes and patted his shoulder. It's okay, don't push yourself. Watch a little cartoon first. You can do your homework later. Aaron lit up. He turned toward me with a smirk that dripped with smug satisfaction. Dad's the best. He doesn't force me to do stuff I don't want to do. Not like someone. We both knew who that someone was. I looked at him, expressionless. Once upon a time, I was the one who sat beside him every evening, walking him through every problem. I was the one who worried about his grades, who lost sleep over his future. But in his eyes, I was just the nagging mother who made his life harder. And Bert, who shrugged off responsibility with a single sentence, was the cool dad. Now that I'd stepped back, Aaron had already slipped into bad habits. But I didn't care anymore. His future was no longer my concern. After yet another week of dead-end job hunting, I finally gave in and decided to ask for help. Donna had been my best friend in college, a driven, no-nonsense career woman. We were inseparable once, cheering each other on in work and life. But after I had Aaron and left my job, the calls got fewer and eventually stopped. When the call connected, her voice carried a sharp edge of irony. Grace. Haven't heard from you in ages. Color me shocked. What, taking a break from your hubby and kid to remember I exist? I knew what she meant. Back in college, we'd both vowed never to be the kind of women who relied on a man to live. And yet here I was, becoming everything we once mocked. I told her about the job search, about how no one would take me seriously. She didn't say much, just asked to meet up in person. When we finally sat down across from each other again years later, she looked exactly like a character out of one of those streaming dramas. Stylish, confident, her hair curled in trendy waves. She looked like me once upon a time. Meanwhile, I fidgeted with the frayed edge of the shirt I'd been wearing for 2 years, suddenly aware of every threadbare detail. She broke the silence. You're looking for work and getting nowhere? I nodded. Yeah, the market sucks, she said flatly. And with your gap, companies will hesitate. Don't take it personally, it's not about your skills. Harsh but true. I appreciated the honesty. Come work at my studio, she said. Turns out, Donna had quit her job a few years ago and started a media company, just in time to ride the wave of social media. Now she was thriving. She told me about the influencers under her label, some with over 1 million followers. I'm launching a new face. I need a scriptwriter. Someone will train you, but it'll be hard work. I'd worked hard before. I knew what it took to climb the ladder. Back home, all my effort earned me was the contempt of two ungrateful men. We talked about the pay structure and she told me to come in the next day to get started. Honestly, I could have hugged her on the spot. I wanted to run out of that cafe and follow her straight to the studio. She patted my shoulder. Work hard. Get your finances in order. Then divorce him. Bert's always been selfish. I told you back then not to marry him. She had. But I didn't listen. I was in love, stupidly in love. I married him, had his child, gave up everything I was building. I let Donna down, and I let myself down. But it's not too late. I still have time to rebuild. And now, I finally have a reason to believe I can. Once I started working at Donna's studio, I threw myself into it like a starving woman at a feast. I stayed late every night, soaking up everything I could. Donna and her team were no joke, they were tough. My scripts were rejected more times than I could count, rewritten then rejected again. By the end of the first month I only made $2,000. But I wasn't discouraged. I used my first paycheck in 7 years to treat the whole team to coffee. It was my way of saying thank you, and marking a new beginning. This was just the start. I was determined to climb back up, one step at a time. It wasn't until Aaron's violin teacher called that I realized how disconnected I'd become from the lives of Bert and his son. "Miss Gray," the teacher said, "I wanted to check if Aaron will continue his lessons. He hasn't shown up all month. And if he's stopping, would you mind settling last month's bill? Also the last time." I cut her off. "I'm sorry, Miss Sussy. I'm no longer the one handling Aaron's affairs. You'll need to speak to his father." I gave her Bert's number, politely said goodbye, and hung up without a second thought. That evening I walked into the house and found Bert glaring at me. "How could you let Aaron's violin tuition go unpaid?" Do you have any idea how humiliated I was when Miss Sussy called my office during a department meeting? Apparently she'd called repeatedly, loudly, while Bert was giving a presentation. Now the whole department knew he was late on a tuition payment. I listened calmly to his outburst. When he was done I said coolly, "You could have just paid it when you dropped him off. No need to take that tone with me." Then I smiled, narrowing my eyes. "Oh right. The teacher also said Aaron hasn't been to class in a month. You're doing a stellar job, Dad." Nothing wounds a mediocre man like a bruised ego. Bert was already the lowest paid employee in his department. New interns made more than him. Now someone had called him a deadbeat in front of his peers. He couldn't handle it. He pointed at me, shaking with rage. "What's wrong with you lately? You don't cook, you don't clean, you come home late every night, and now you're neglecting Aaron? He's your son." I stared him down. "What's wrong with me? I've always been like this. Or did you forget what I was like before we got married? Yes, I gave birth to him. But I'm not the only one who could have done that. Aaron is your son too. Why is it only my job to take care of him?" I took a deep breath. "I've got a job now. I'm busy. Don't bother me with small stuff like this anymore." Bert opened his mouth to respond, but nothing came out. I thought maybe, just maybe, this would make him back off. I was wrong. The next morning I walked into the living room and froze. Sitting on the couch, surrounded by bags and wearing a look of smug determination, was Bert's mother, Laura. I'd argued with Bert around 10 p.m. the night before. Laura had arrived at 5 a.m. She must have packed her bags and taken the earliest bus, maybe even driven through the night. As soon as she saw me, she barked. "It's late. Get up and make breakfast for Bert and Aaron." I rolled my eyes. "I'm not making anything. If someone wants breakfast, they can make it themselves." I yawned and walked right back into my room. Laura huffed and puffed her way into the kitchen, her bags in tow. For 2 solid hours, the house clanged with her passive-aggressive cooking. No one got any sleep, not even Bert. Finally he snapped. "Mom, what are you doing in there?" "I'm making breakfast," she said sweetly. "Since Grace doesn't cook anymore, someone's got to." She carried the food out just as I was stepping out of the guest room. Her smile dropped into a frown. "You two are sleeping in separate rooms now?" After the fight, I hadn't wanted to share a bed, or even a room with Bert anymore. The guest room became my sanctuary. Bert, grateful for the change of topic, immediately launched into a performance. "She's still sulking over a necklace. I told her we couldn't afford it and now she's punishing everyone." He looked at his mom, sighing like a man carrying the weight of the world. "It cost $500, Mom. I barely make a few grand a month." She's out here wasting money on nonsense. Laura shook her head and began lecturing me. Bert's not made of money. You have a house, a car, a kid. You shouldn't be blowing hundreds on useless jewelry. And it's not like you bring in any income. You should be saving for the family. If this had been me a few months ago, still a stay-at-home mom with no income, I might have swallowed my pride and let it go. But not now. Now I had a paycheck. Not a huge one, but enough to give me a spine. I stood taller and said, "Actually, that money is part of our marital assets. I have every right to spend it how I please." Then I turned to Bert. "And I guess your mom didn't mention it, but I have a job now." I walked away feeling, for the first time in a long time, truly confident. Behind me Bert fumed. Grace doesn't cook, doesn't clean, won't even take care of her own kid. Now mom shows up and she doesn't even greet her? What kind of woman does that? All over a stupid necklace. These days I was out the door at dawn and didn't come home until late. I couldn't even remember the last time I'd actually looked at Aaron. Now there he was, sitting on the couch, devouring a huge piece of fried chicken, grease smeared all over his lips. He'd put on noticeable weight. No surprise there. Before Laura arrived, Bert had been feeding them both nothing but takeout, mostly fast food. Laura sat beside him, cooing as if he were wasting away. "Look at my poor baby, he's gotten so thin. Grace, how could you treat your son like this?" She'd been saying things like that every day since she arrived, in that patronizing, concerned tone that barely hid her contempt. She clearly thought she could nag me back into being the submissive little daughter-in-law I used to be. I tried to avoid her whenever I could, but she was relentless. Always there, always watching, always waiting to pounce. One morning she muttered just loud enough for me to hear. "Some people spend all day running around outside and forget they're even mothers. So heartless." Actually laughed. Was she talking about me or her son? She took my silence as an invitation and turned to Aaron. "Sweetheart, we don't want a mommy who won't cook or clean for her child, do we? That's a bad mommy." Aaron parroted her perfectly. "No bad mommy." I said nothing as I walked past them, until Laura did something unthinkable. She grabbed Aaron's greasy little hand and used it to hit me. "Bad mommy. Bad mommy," he shrieked. He wasn't gentle. Sticky fingerprints bloomed across my clothes, hot and shameful. I grabbed his shoulders, firmly stopping him. Immediately he burst into loud, messy sobs. Laura leapt up and snatched him away, holding him like he'd just survived a trauma. "You scared him," she snapped. "You really need to take a long, hard look at yourself." I stayed calm. "And what would you have me do? Let him hit me because you told him I'm a bad mother?" I locked eyes with her. "You came into my home and taught my son to disrespect me. Are you that bored, or are you just trying to stir up trouble?" Laura faltered, her mouth opening and closing. After a beat she managed. "Don't twist my words. I came here out of kindness to help you. If you hadn't insisted on going back to work, I wouldn't be here in the first place. I'm an old woman. You think I want to be doing this?" Then she collapsed onto the sofa and started crying. "I was just trying to take care of this family. But you're never home. You fight with Bert. You ignore your child. No one even knows what you're doing all day. And when you do come home, you act like I'm a burden." Soon the living room was a concert of sobs, hers and Aaron's, overlapping, escalating. "What's going on?" Bert finally emerged from wherever he'd been hiding. He must have been eavesdropping the whole time. The moment he saw his mother and his son crying, he turned to me with that same tired scowl. "Grace, you're being completely disrespectful to my mother." Then he looked at Aaron, snot and tears streaming down his face, and his anger seemed to triple. He scooped Aaron into his arms, gently rocking him like some loving father from a picture book. Funny. I'd never seen him show this kind of affection before. There, he murmured. "It's okay. It's all Mommy's fault. We don't need to talk to her anymore." Each word was a dagger, meant to isolate, to turn my own child against me, to paint himself as the victim and me as the villain. This was classic Bert. Always hiding, behind me, behind his mother, behind Aaron, only stepping forward when it meant he could come out looking like the hero. I'd had enough. More than enough. The resentment I'd swallowed for years rose in my throat. I didn't care if the timing wasn't perfect. I didn't care that Laura was here or that Aaron was watching. I'd reached my limit. I looked Bert dead in the eye and said the words I should have said years ago. "Bert, I want a divorce." Bert stared at me in disbelief. "Divorce? Grace, are you out of your damn mind? His voice trembled with rage. After all these years, this was the first time I'd ever truly challenged his authority. All this over some stupid necklace? I didn't say a word. Technically, yes, the necklace had started it. But it was never just about that. Seeing I wasn't backing down, he sneered and spat out a threat. Fine. Let's see who really can't live without the other. Like two kids playing a game of chicken, we marched straight to the courthouse and signed the papers without a moment's hesitation. Outside the courthouse, Bert gave me a cold smirk. You better not come crawling back. Guys like me don't come around twice. I smirked right back. Good. I'm not looking for a rerun. Inside, as the clerk double-checked the paperwork and confirmed the terms of the divorce, Laura stormed in like she was auditioning for a soap opera. Erin stays with us. And the house and car. She gets nothing. The court clerk barely suppressed an eye roll. You can settle custody and assets privately or in court mediation. I looked straight ahead and said, calm and clear. No need. He can keep the house and the car. Split the savings down the middle. That's it. The clerk nodded. Our application was accepted on the spot. We just have to wait for the final decree to be processed. When I stepped outside, Donna was already waiting for me by the curb. The moment she saw Bert, she raised her middle finger high in the air. Bert, as expected, didn't dare retaliate. The man couldn't even raise his voice in a staff meeting. Donna was confident, successful, and absolutely out of his league. He settled for scowling at me and muttering, "Too late to regret it now. You'll come crawling back when you realize what you lost." Donna quickly shoved me into the car before I could even look at him. "Please. As if you were some kind of prize," she snorted, slamming the door shut behind her. And just like that we drove off, leaving Bert and Laura in a cloud of exhaust and irrelevance. As Donna merged onto the main road, she glanced at me and grinned. "Took you long enough. I was starting to think you'd never snap out of it." I exhaled slowly, the adrenaline finally fading. I know. It all happened so fast. The only thing is, I didn't have time to plan. I've got no savings. Bert had agreed to split the money equally, but I knew exactly how much we had. It wasn't much. Barely enough to float me for a month or two. Donna's eyes softened. "Don't worry. I've got you." That simple promise hit me harder than I expected. After everything, the years I spent shrinking to fit into someone else's life, I was finally back in the presence of someone who saw me, who stood with me. Just as I was starting to relax, Donna shifted in her seat. "Oi, but don't celebrate too soon," she said. "There's something I need to show you." She pulled into a cafe parking lot and led me to a quiet corner booth. We ordered 2 coffees. Once they arrived, she pulled a few glossy photographs from her purse and slid them across the table. "Take a look," she said. "I came across these by accident." I picked them up. They showed Bert, walking into a hotel with a woman I'd never seen before. My brow furrowed. Donna motioned for me to keep flipping. There they were again, coming out of the hotel together. In one shot, Bert was carrying her bag, his face turned toward her with a look that said far more than words. No hesitation. No shame. Just casual public intimacy. So that was it. Bert had been cheating. But to my own surprise, I felt nothing. No anger. No heartbreak. Just a quiet confirmation of something I already knew deep down. Donna leaned in. "She's a client at his company. Took him to a few networking events. A friend of mine happened to be there and saw them." Thought back. All those nights Bert came home late, reeking of whiskey, barely able to stand, and I let Erin look after him. How many times had I been too tired to question it? "She's a bit of a flirt, actually," Donna added, raising an eyebrow. "I just never imagined she'd waste her time on someone like Bert." I wasn't shocked. Bert had been the worst performer at his company for months. His commissions were practically non-existent. If he didn't bring in results soon, they'd let him go. "I'm guessing he didn't fight the divorce because he thinks landing her will save him," Donna said. "He probably believes she's his ticket to better clients and a promotion. He's finally ready for his big break." She paused. "But Grace, I wouldn't put it past him to come crawling back or cause trouble. Be careful." Just as Donna predicted, it took less than 2 weeks for Bert to call me, begging for a reconciliation. On the phone, his tone was smug, as if he were doing me a favor. "I've been thinking," he said, "you are Erin's biological mother and that's important for his development. I mean, I can always find another partner, but for Aaron's sake, maybe we should get back together. In the background, I heard Aaron's shaky little voice. Mommy, I miss you. Please come home. Bert was really pulling out all the stops, using our son's emotions as a bargaining chip. He wanted me to return as the self-sacrificing wife and mother I once was. I kept my voice soft. I'll think about it. Just take care of Aaron for now. Then I hung up and immediately called Donna. She'd already done some digging. Turns out, Bert's fling had moved on to a bigger firm. With his golden client gone, his numbers tanked. And now he was looking to crawl back to the convenient, low-maintenance ex-wife. I laughed. Of course. That was always his way, using others, manipulating guilt, never truly taking responsibility. I kept stalling, never saying yes or no, and Bert grew increasingly desperate. Finally, I agreed to meet him, mostly to keep him from spiraling. He looked different when I saw him. Thinner, worn out. Aaron too was quieter, more subdued. Bert stared at me, so much healthier, more confident than I'd ever been while with him, but didn't even ask how I was doing. So I broke the silence. You said you had something to talk about? He dodged the question. My mom's gone. I sent her back. What she did was wrong. She shouldn't have treated you like that. It won't happen again. I said nothing. He nudged Aaron. You told me you had something to say to Mommy. Go on. Aaron hesitated. Before they left the house, Bert had warned him. If you don't apologize, you'll be the kid with no mom. Kids at school will laugh at you. So Aaron stood up, bowed his head and mumbled. Mom, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have made you mad. Please come back. Bert chimed in. I'm sorry too, sweetheart. I should have done more to control my mother and Aaron. Please forgive me. Even now, Bert couldn't take ownership. He was still pushing the blame onto everyone but himself. I smiled faintly. Sure. Let's get the divorce certificate first. Then we'll talk. He froze. I'm here to get back together with you. I cut him off. We'll finalize the divorce. Then I'll see how you behave. If you truly change, maybe we'll revisit things. He didn't understand why I wouldn't just agree now. Come on, Grace. Just say yes. I promise I'll treat you with respect. Things will be different. I gave him a crooked smile. Bert, do you think I'm stupid? What if this act lasts only a few days? At least after the divorce, the house and car are yours. You're not losing anything. He hesitated. In the end, he agreed. He had no choice. The fantasy of reconciling had crumbled, and the smart move in his mind was to keep the door open, just in case. While we waited for the paperwork, Bert tried everything to win me back. He brought Aaron around, showered me with compliments, even offered to help me rest more, so I wouldn't be tired from work. I didn't budge. Then the day came. The divorce certificate was ready. Bert followed me out of the building like a loyal puppy, waving the papers like a golden ticket. Great. Now that we have it, let's get remarried. Come home with me today and we'll go apply tomorrow. I nodded. There were still a few things at that house I needed to collect. As soon as we stepped inside, Aaron threw himself onto my leg, grinning with excitement. In his mind, Mommy the maid was finally back. I gently pried him off and walked into the bedroom. Bert followed, quietly shutting the door behind him. He snaked his arms around my waist, pressing his lips toward my neck. I shrugged him off and began packing. Last time I'd left in a hurry and there were things I couldn't afford to lose. Old diplomas, certificates, documents that couldn't be replaced. Clothes didn't matter. But these did. I shoved everything into a tote bag and finally pulled out 2 photographs. I tossed them onto the bed. You really thought I'd come back to you? Bert's face went pale. In the photos he was clearly visible walking into a hotel with his mistress. What is this supposed to mean? It means, I said flatly, this is over. His charm evaporated. You're being ridiculous. I'm a man, I have needs. You hadn't touched me in months. So what if I strayed? Every man does. I laughed bitterly. Not every man sleeps with a client. He snapped back. Why do you care? We're divorced. I met his eyes. Exactly. We're divorced. We're nothing now. I slung the bag over my shoulder and walked to the door. And don't worry, I'll send Aaron's child support to your account. Without another glance, I opened the door and left. Aaron was standing outside waiting. He looked up at me with wide, nervous eyes. Mom. He was still my son, my baby. The one I carried, raised, loved. But he had wounded me too. Deeply. I knelt down, brushed his hair back gently and smiled. I love you, Aaron. Always. If you ever miss me, call me, I'll come right away. I promise. Whenever you want to see me, I'll be there. I pulled my suitcase toward the front door, and with every step I felt lighter. Yes, I had walked away from a lot, gave up the house, the car, the so-called security. I left with nothing. But even so, I was finally free. Money. I could earn it again. A cheating husband. Not worth clinging to. As long as I had my freedom, everything I lost was still something I could one day reclaim. I had been caged for too long. Now, the bird who once soared the skies was free again, wings spread wide, ready to fly toward her own horizon. On the way out, I ran into Lucy, one of the moms in the neighborhood I used to chat with during stroller walks. She was holding her youngest, heading home when she saw me. Grace. It's so late. Where are you going with that suitcase? I smiled at her, steady and unshaken. I got divorced. It's time to start over. The look on her face said everything. She was stunned. But I held her gaze, smiled wider and added, "Goodbye, Lucy." She nodded, polite but still processing. I didn't care what she, or anyone else, might say about me tomorrow. Let the neighborhood gossip. Let the whispers spread. I was done living for their expectations. Outside the gates of the complex, Donna stood waiting with a bouquet in her arms. The petals of the bird of paradise bloomed like wings mid-flight. She smiled and handed them to me. "Congratulations," she said, her voice proud and warm. "You escaped the cage." Even after the divorce, I tried to keep in touch with Aaron. I called, wrote, reached out, again and again. But he didn't want to see me. Bert, unsurprisingly, made sure of that. He changed addresses more than once, each time making it harder for me to find them. Years passed. By the time I saw Aaron again, we were both different people. After the divorce, once my job stabilized, I found myself in a new relationship. His name was Jack, a photographer at Donna's studio. He was 3 years younger than me, and from the very beginning he made it clear. He admired me, respected me, and most of all supported my work. We got married. Not long after, we had a daughter, Olivia. And for the first time in my life, I realized having a child didn't have to mean exhaustion and sacrifice. It didn't have to mean waking up every 2 hours to feed the baby, dragging myself through the day half asleep. Jack was the kind of father I had only dreamed of. He took care of Olivia through the night so I could sleep. He made sure I had time to rest, to heal, to breathe. The lingering aches and pains I'd been left with after Aaron's birth, they never came back. All thanks to Jack's quiet, unwavering care. If anything, Jack was the one running on fumes. His back sore, his shoulders tense, jumping at every little cry from Olivia's crib. I spent my maternity leave in comfort, nurtured, supported, safe. And when I returned to work, I didn't need to worry about daycare lists or babysitters. Jack's mother and a part-time nanny helped with everything. I was free to focus on my career. No guilt, no compromise. Just like how I once kept a whole household running behind Bert's back. Now someone was finally doing that for me. Years had passed. Olivia grew up in a home filled with laughter, warmth, and love. She was a bright, joyful child, curious, confident, and bursting with the artistic spirit she inherited from Jack, and the quiet resilience she got from me. With Jack's unwavering support, my career soared. I built a name for myself, and Donna's studio flourished into one of the most influential media companies in the city. For the first time in my life, I had everything I ever wanted. A thriving career, a partner who truly cherished me, and a home that felt like mine. And then one day Aaron came back into my life. It was completely unexpected. I was in a cafe between meetings, taking a rare moment to breathe, when I heard a voice behind me. "Mom." I turned, and for a heartbeat the air caught in my chest. Aaron. But he wasn't the little boy I had left behind. He was taller than I remembered, his features sharper, more mature. But his eyes still held something familiar. A quiet blend of uncertainty, regret, and longing. We stood there in silence for a moment. Then, hesitantly, he took a step forward. "Can we talk?" We sat down. He stirred his coffee without really looking at it. Eventually, he looked up, meeting my eyes. He hesitated. I don't even know where to start. I waited, giving him room. He took a long breath. I was wrong. The words were soft, but they carried the weight of years. "I was just a kid, but that's no excuse. I was awful to you. I let Dad and Grandma fill my head with lies. I was convinced you were the bad guy, but... He swallowed hard. When you left, things didn't get better. They got worse. I had suspected as much. But I let him speak. Dad never changed. After Grandma was gone, he was always working or angry. No one cooked. No one checked my homework. No one checked on me at all. He stopped short, his jaw tight. For a long time I was just angry at you. But as I got older, things started to make sense. I saw how Dad treated women. How he blamed everyone but himself. And I started to remember everything. His voice cracked. You were always there. You took care of everything. When you finally chose yourself, He looked away, his eyes shining. I was the one who pushed you out, Mom. I exhaled, slow and soft. My heart ached, not with bitterness but with compassion. He had been a child. Manipulated. Shaped. Used. He never stood a chance of knowing better. I never hated you, Aaron, I said gently. His shoulders trembled. And suddenly he wasn't a grown man sitting across from me. He was just a boy again. The boy I had raised, loved, sacrificed for. He wiped his eyes, finally lifting them to meet mine. Can I be a part of your life again? I smiled. Of course, Aaron. You'll always be my son. The first time he met Olivia, he was nervous. Jack was there too, watching with a guarded but respectful calm as Aaron fidgeted on the edge of the couch. Then Olivia, full of 5-year-old wonder, ran right up to him and asked, "Are you my brother?" Aaron blinked, stunned. Yeah. I guess I am." Her whole face lit up. "I always wanted a brother." And she flung her tiny arms around him. Over her shoulder, Jack looked at me. His eyes asked the question he didn't say aloud. "Is this okay?" I nodded. Because in that moment I knew. No matter what I had lost, no matter how much I had endured, I had won something greater.
I'm Aaron. It took me years to realize that so much of what I believed growing up wasn't true. As a kid, I thought my mom was the villain. She always made me do my homework, told me to cut back on snacks, insisted I go to bed early. My dad never forced me to do anything. And my grandmother would whisper constantly in my ear, "Your mother's got a temper. She doesn't care about this family. If it weren't for your dad, this house would have fallen apart a long time ago." And I believed her. The day Mom bought that necklace, I genuinely thought she was being selfish. I looked her in the eye, in front of everyone, and told her she wasn't worth it. Looking back now, those words might be the cruelest thing I've ever said. I remember the way she looked at me, quiet, calm. She said, "You're right. I'm not worth it." And I actually felt smug about it. I thought I'd won. I didn't realize that was the moment she started walking away from us. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just closed the door softly and left. And I thought that meant I was right. But slowly, as life peeled back its layers, I started to see things for what they really were. Dad grew quieter. He'd come home from work without saying a word, crack open a beer, and fall asleep on the couch. He never asked if I'd done my homework. Never asked how I was feeling. He wasn't the wounded hero I thought he was. He was just someone who never wanted responsibility. I started seeing through the stories he used to tell. They didn't hold up. And I began to remember things I'd forgotten or ignored. My mom, dragging herself out of bed to do laundry at midnight. Sitting beside me all night when I had a fever. Practicing the same piano piece with me over and over before a recital. I started to hate myself, not because I was a kid who didn't know better, but because when she was at her weakest, I didn't stand beside her. It took me a long time to build up the courage to find her. I didn't know if she'd even want to see me. But when she looked up in that cafe and saw me, she didn't flinch. She didn't turn away. She just listened. I apologized. She didn't scold me. She didn't make me beg. She said she never hated me. And in that moment, I nearly lost it. Because it hit me, some people will love you even when you've broken their heart. Later, I met Jack. He was steady, grounded, like a wall you could lean on. I could see why she felt safe with him. Then I met Olivia. She looked up at me with big, curious eyes and asked, "Are you my brother?" I froze. But I nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." Her whole face lit up, and she jumped into my arms. I always wanted a big brother. And as I held her, something inside me clicked into place. Like there was a part of me that had been missing for years, and now it wasn't. Jack looked at me, not with suspicion, not with hostility. Just quiet respect, like someone willing to make space for me. And her, she stood nearby, watching us with the same smile she used to wear when she watched me perform on stage for the first time. I'm still trying to become a better man. No apology can undo the past, but I'm trying, every day, to become someone she can be proud of. I know I can't go back to the life we had before she left. But I'm hoping, in the life she's built now, I can still earn a place. Not as the boy who needed her care, but as a man who can finally walk toward her and hold her with both arms.